So let's start with, firstly, I just want to thank the previous speakers. And I think the one thing all the speakers had in common was systems transformation. This is what we have to do. And we have to go over to agroecological systems, not just monocultures. I think this has been a very important discussion, which is about getting diversity. And so what I want to start with, ironically, is what my first slide is the same as Hans's last slide. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Albert Einstein, I think, is a hero to many of us. So what I'd like to say is that the presidential directive will not be achieved by using the agronomists and professionals who are trained and practiced only in using chemical fertilizers and pesticides. These professionals, they don't have the knowledge or the skill to implement the new system. And that's because they use the same thinking. In fact, what history shows us is that they will actually undermine the change. And this has already started. For instance, this submission from CropLife is done precisely to undermine the president's directive. So we need new thinking. And in this case, we'll talk about regenerative organic systems and based on the science of agroecology to solve these problems. Another one of my heroes is Buddha. And I paraphrased what I think is actually one of his most important parables or teachings. And what he said is concepts are like rafts. We build a raft to cross a river, but we don't carry it on our back all across the landscape to the next river. We build a new raft to cross the next river. And so we need to change our thinking to embrace the new agriculture. This is really important. And what I actually want to say too, there are many systems that we can embrace that use science and innovation, that we don't need to throw away traditional practices. There's a lot in traditional agriculture, but we can build on it by using innovation and science, build our new rafts. So I'm just going to give a short presentation, just looking at a few of them. And particularly, I want to focus it on, one of the main points of the presidential directive, and that was looking at using organic fertilizers and compost, increasing soil organic matter. And the other one, of course, is to do with climate change. So let's start with compost, because we've got CropLife, and I know that there's been some of the professors and other professionals already undermining it, saying Sri Lanka is going to starve. Let's look at peer-reviewed science. And this is a very good study published by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, looking at what happens when we use compost on various grains in Ethiopia. The lowest bar is the traditional system. The green one in the middle is using compost, and the next one is using chemical fertilizers. And in every case, the compost achieved higher yields than the chemical fertilizers. But we're also talking about innovation and doing things better. And I'd like to talk about a friend of ours, and Dr. Shiva. Vandana mentioned David Johnson and his wife, Sue. And they've looked at how to improve composting systems. And what Ranil was talking about, and Vandana and Hans, is about biodiversity, and particularly soil biodiversity. This form of compost actually produces the highest biodiversity of soil microbes that we know. And as a result, it dramatically increases crop yield. The reason I've shown this one and this particular picture is because it can be done at any scale. It can be done at the smallest smallholder farm Or if we're talking about large commercial farms, it can be done at that scale. And this is what is really important. And if you look at the system there that he's done, it's affordable, it's simple. This is what is really important, is appropriate technologies. So in Australia, where it's been done, it's virtually doubled the yields of wheat. In New Mexico, for instance, where he did his field trials, he's doubled the yields of cotton. And this is compared to where they're using 150 pounds of nitrogen per acre. And the composted one gets double the yield without spending any money on synthetic nitrogen. And this is about the biology, about life. This is what our previous speakers have been speaking about. And what I want to show here is where we can actually use innovation on our traditional techniques like composting and improve them and do better than we're doing now. And this is a really good example. There's more work being done at the moment in California, in Chico State, and they're getting very impressive preliminary results. Another example, and I use this because, you know, rice is a very important staple in Sri Lanka and actually in all of Asia, and the system of rice intensification. And I know it gets a lot of pushback, but what I want to do is show you evidence-based science and good science. For instance, Professor Norman Uphoff from Cornell, who's one of the leading experts, showing the difference in two plants. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to work out which one of these plants is going to give you a higher yield. The peer-reviewed scientific literature we know now, it's being used in 40 countries. Most farmers get significant increases in yield. We use less water, less methane, which is better for the climate, and climate change is part of the presidential directive. Yields of over 7 tons per hectare are common. And in Asia, paddy really, when you look at most of the figures, is 3 to 4 tons per hectare using urea. We're talking about, with good SRI, of doubling yields. It reduces and eliminates chemical fertilizers and pesticides. We are getting, in some of the experiments, 7 tons per hectare in organic systems in India, for instance. And it's been continuously adapted and improved. And what's really exciting, it's being used by other crops as well. You know, innovation again, you just don't restrict it to rice. The principles now can be applied to so many other crops. Here's some peer-reviewed science on yields published by Cornell University. The blue dot at the bottom is paddy, and the pink dots are SRI. And virtually everywhere, SRI is getting higher yields. What I'm always interested in is a few dots that are exceptional. And rather than call them outliers and disregard them, I would say this is very interesting. Why? Can we replicate it? And can we do it consistently? Because those 3 dots where you're getting 15 to 23 tons per hectare, that to me is where we need science and research. Really importantly, and once again, climate change is just so important, is adapting to climate change extremes. And we have good data showing that SRI builds much more resilient rice than chemical paddy. And so to also talk about climate change, and this is very important, and get back to soil organic matter, which is what Ranil was talking about. We know that we have very good evidence-based science that systems where we increase soil organic matter have higher yields in climate extremes. And this is critical as we go into climate change. This is an example that, and Ranil was actually giving examples of how by increasing soil organic matter, by getting that we actually improve the stability of soil. So this is an example of what happens when it rains just after you plant a crop. And this is a field trial in Switzerland. One of them is an organic crop. Every year, incrementally increase soil organic matter through good organic practices. The other is conventional agriculture, industrial agriculture that's been based on good, chemical fertilization practices. It's rained, the organic crop is going to go and recover. The conventional one has collapsed, that soil is eroding away, that crop will be a failure because the soil has lost its integrity. This is a very good example of explaining how this is actually similar. It's another scientific trial, this time done in Pennsylvania at the Rodale Institute. We have one lot of soil, which is from good organic practices, every year increasing the soil organic matter. The other soil, same plots side by side, but good conventional practices, supervised by one of the leading universities. That soil, when you put it in water, collapses. The organic soil holds itself together. And to explain that, and once again, Ronald talked about humus or humic acid and how it's it can survive for thousands of years in the soil. It's very, very stable. If you look at it under a microscope, you can see that it looks like a sponge. That gives it the ability to hold 30 times its own weight in water. The other thing is it's a polymer. It's sticky, or the word that Ronald used again was like a gum. It holds, it glues the soil together. That's why the organic soils don't erode. And this is very, very important. So it also, because it's sticky, it actually holds all the nutrients. It stops them from being washed away as well. This is the one I really want to get across, which I think is just so important as we go into climate change and in terms of water holding. And this is good research done by one of our master students in Australia, and it's what we call a good rule of thumb, that in many parts of the world at the moment, due to industrial farming, we've lost most of our soil organic matter. Vandana Shiva talked about that in the studies where she is in Dehradun. And we know that essentially over most of the world, that the average organic matter levels are 1% or less. Now, what that means is when it rains, the soil in the first 30 centimeters can hold around 80,000 to 160,000 liters. The rest just runs off, usually erodes and makes all the rivers and creeks muddy and eutrophies and causes dead zones in the seas. As we build up our organic matter, we can start increasing the amount of water we capture. Now, I've gone up to 6% there. And I use that because on my own farm, where I am now, when I started, I had less than 1% organic matter. In 11 years, I took it up to 6%. And if I get so annoyed by people, agricultural professionals say you can't do it. Well, sorry, I've done it. And I know many others who have done it. And I get sick and tired of those who can't, unable to do it, saying that things are impossible and trying to tell us, those who have done it, that we can't do it. We have, and it's being done now, and 6% is achievable. In fact, most ecosystems, 6% is fairly average. What does that mean? Well, it means when it rains, we can trap around a megaliter of water per hectare. Where? In the root zone. Think about that. It's the most efficient way of irrigating a crop. And it's simple, it's cheap, and it's doable. And the reason I want to show that is what it means. And this is the Rodale Institute. There's a drought. If you have a look, it's the same field. There's corn in it. It's the same amount of rain that's fallen on that field, but the organic corn doesn't know it's got a drought because of the practices of building up soil organic matter. It's trapped that water. It's thriving. The conventional industrial, because it's degraded soil organic matter, is struggling. It's in a drought. And a peer review of that trial showed that on average, organic systems get between, around 30% higher yields in drought years. So I want to get this across and get rid of this idea that we're hearing from CropLife and others, Sri Lanka is going to starve. Actually, Sri Lanka is going to thrive. That is the reality. Finally, I just want to end on is that what we've got at the moment is a whole range of innovative new ways of farming. Lots of them. I haven't got the time to go through it. I just want to touch on some of the new organic, what we call no-till or low-till systems. And this is at the Rodale. For instance, the work there shows that they're using, less diesel, but they're getting higher yields, than the conventional. I know the work we're doing in Australia and some of these systems now, we're getting double the yield of conventional without having to plow, and building up biodiversity and rethinking systems. So what I want to end on is this, is that I only got a short time. We will submit a report to the Presidential Task Force, and that will be referenced on published science, and to show that the presidential directive is achievable and that going down this pathway, it will increase Sri Lanka's agricultural production. It will increase income. It'll improve the balance of trade because you're not losing money to the fertilizer companies and pesticide companies. Will increase biodiversity, and really importantly, will increase climate change resilience. So thank you.